guys, and welcome back to my channel. First of all, I would like to say that the case that I'm going to be looking into today is going to be the unsolved disappearance of Trevor Deely. He was 22 at the time of him going missing. He lived in Dublin in Ireland and he just vanished. This case was suggested by Ghost, so thank you for that. I appreciate any suggestions you guys have, and of course if you have any more, please do let me know. I will look into them for you. Trevor Deely was born on the 15th of August in 1978 to parents Michael and Anne. He had quite a big family. He ended up having 3 siblings and he was the youngest of all 4 children. He grew up in Naas, County Kildare in Ireland, and I apologise if I have said that wrong. After finishing school, Trevor didn't really know what he wanted to do. He ended up studying business at Waterford Institute of Technology, but then he dropped out of that in his second year, and he just didn't know what he wanted to do with his life, which is quite normal. You know, some people go through knowing exactly what they want to do and others have no idea. So, you know, it's just one of those things. He didn't have a clue what he wanted to do, but then he ended up taking this computer IT course and he realized that that was actually what he wanted to do with his life. And then in May of 1999 he ended up getting a job in the Bank of Ireland Asset Management on Lesson Street, working in the IT department, and he did really well. He absolutely loved his job. He made a lot of friends. It was just, I guess, a newfound calling, especially since he had no idea what he wanted to do before that, and all of a sudden everything was just clicking into place for him. It all seems to be going really well for Trevor. In late November of 2000, Trevor went on a trip to Alaska. He flew there on a discount, apparently, that his friend had got for him because his friend was a long-haul flight attendant, and he pretty much described it as a free ticket. He actually went over to see this girl who apparently he had met in Dublin, so I guess she was on holiday from Alaska in Ireland. He met her, they, you know, got on well from what I could gather, so that is what he was doing. He was going to meet her, but apparently this girl didn't actually invite him. I believe she told him not to come. I don't know whether she invited him in the first place, like initially, because that's where he got the idea from or what, but from what I can understand, when he told her that she was coming, I guess she told him not to, but he did anyway. So obviously he's gone on this trip. It wasn't really, we don't know much about it, but we do know that she didn't want him there, so I'm guessing it wasn't a very good one. But again, that is just my assumption, but I would feel like it's a pretty good one if he's gone there to see her and then she's rebuffed him. You know, it wouldn't have been a nice trip in my eyes. So he's come back off this trip and he had obviously booked a holiday off work. He was off still for a couple of days, I believe, and then he goes to a Christmas works party on the 7th. It was a few people from work. They went out, they were going to go to all these different bars and just basically get very drunk for Christmas. The last nightclub that they ended up at was called the Buck Whaley Club, apparently. It was on Lower Lesson Street, which was, you know, just around the corner from where he actually worked. Trevor, at around 25 minutes past 3 in the morning, he decides that he's actually gonna go and head out. You know, it's early morning. He's probably tipsy at this point, spending the entire night drinking, and he just wants to go home. So that is what he does. He leaves. But normally he would just walk home. However, the night Ireland were going through a bad storm. It was so windy, probably soaking wet. It was not good to be walking home in, and also there was a taxi strike on at the time, so there was no taxis available. He couldn't just jump in a cab and just go home. So what he decides to do was to actually go to work, which was only around the corner. I don't really know why. It is being suggested that possibly it was to set up for his shift the next day, mark a few things down. He did end up taking an umbrella from the work, so whether it was he was going in to get an umbrella to walk home and protect himself a little bit, I don't know. I don't know the reasoning behind it, but that is what he ended up doing. So he gets to his place of work. He goes through the door. This security footage of him entering. He ends up going through the gate. The guards let him in, and one of his colleagues is actually doing a night shift in there, and so he apparently goes in, he has a brew with him, they have a chit chat. Apparently Trevor checked his emails, made some notes on things that he had to do the next day, and that is when he then grabbed the umbrella and he left. His colleague said They didn't really mention anything untoward. He seemed happy enough. Nothing was out of the ordinary with him. He actually left at 4:03 a.m. and began his journey home. Whilst he was walking home, he made a call to his friend. I believe he left a voicemail. This voicemail was later deleted by his friend because he couldn't get hold of him. And at the time, he didn't know Trevor had gone missing. So he deletes this voicemail, but he said that there was nothing really in it. He sounded normal, and it was just something, I don't know, like, sorry I missed you, I'll ring you tomorrow, or something like that. That's all it was. It wasn't anything important. It wasn't anything that could be vital in this case, kind of thing. But it is just unfortunate that it was actually deleted because his friend just didn't know at the time that Trevor was missing. I mean, I don't think many people did, to be honest. So as I said, there was CCTV outside, and Trevor is picked up on that CCTV, and you can see a man. Well, we don't know if it is a man. Personally, to me, it looks like a man, but you can't really see much on it. So, you know, it could be a female. Who knows? I could be completely wrong. I am going to refer to this person as a man because I don't want to refer to them as it. So, I'm not saying that it's a man though, because it could be female, but yeah. So, you can see this man. He is wearing all black. He was actually caught on camera outside of those gates half an hour before Trevor even got there. It looks like this man speaks to Trevor for a little bit. You know, they have a brief conversation, then Trevor goes inside. And as I said before, when he did go inside, he didn't mention this man to his colleague. So it seems like he wasn't at all worried about him. You know, they just exchanged a few sentences, and that was that. When Trevor went to leave, the CCTV showed that this man was no longer there. The last actual footage of Trevor that we have on CCTV was him walking by an ATM machine, I believe, with his umbrella, which I will put up now. And then 30 seconds later, you can see a dark figure walking behind him. Now, a lot of people do believe that this dark figure is the same that was at the gates. Obviously, we have no idea. Putting the two sections of footage together, I don't know, the first one looks a lot bulkier to me than the second one, who looks a lot slimmer. I mean, I don't know. It could be the same person, or it could very well not be. We have no idea. This is just my personal sort of opinion that I have of it. I don't know whether they are the same person. Obviously, you make your own minds up on that one, because we just don't know. There's no fact, there's no right or wrong here, because we have no idea. This person has never been identified, or these people, if they are different, they've never been proved to be the same person, and they've never come forward or been identified. And the sad thing is that this person or people could be, I don't know, the key to this case. And unfortunately, we still have no idea who they are. So anyway, back to the case. Trevor didn't go into work the next day. Now, nobody really thought that this was very strange. Well, I guess they did. Like, it wasn't like Trevor to miss a shift. However, he had been out drinking the night before, as many people had. And so that is what it was put down to, that he was just hungover, he'd not got up in time. You know, it was along those lines, and so they just kind of let it slide and didn't think much of it. But then he didn't turn up for his shift on Monday either. And that is when people began to get worried. They contacted his family, who had also not heard of Trevor for days. And they obviously got very, very worried. They searched around his friends and contacted a few different people who, again, had not heard of him at all. He was reported as a missing person, and the police began to look into the timeline, his route home, what could have happened to Trevor. And the family were doing everything they could. They printed off a bunch of posters. They were posting them everywhere, handing them out where they could, phoning around, seeing if anyone had seen him, but nobody had. When the police obviously gained the CCTV footage, they made public appeals for the public to come forward and try and identify who this man in black was. But as I've already said, nobody ever did. Now, on his route home, he would have had to walk past a few different canals, rivers, things like that, bodies of water essentially. And so the police began looking into that. Had he possibly been drunk enough to have fallen into one of those and accidentally drowned. Apparently, you know, his colleague in work had said that he was only a little bit tipsy. He wasn't totally wasted. But, you know, things can still happen. You can still lose your footing even if you're only slightly tipsy. So they looked into that. They literally dragged the rivers and scraped it all. They searched those as much as they could and they found nothing. It was just as if Trevor had vanished. A lot of people believe that the answers lie with the man. And his family very much believe that too. They have done multiple public appeals and they've basically said that we are in the public's hands here because there's just no evidence. There's no nothing. They never found a body. There's no evidence of foul play. There is nothing apart from the CCTV that we have showing this man who may or may not have anything to do with this case at all. But they believe that somebody out there knows something. So again, they are still in the public hands. A lot of people have put a lot of suspicion on this man. They said that when he arrived there half an hour earlier, he was pressing up against a post and it looked like he was trying to conceal himself from the cameras. But I mean, in my opinion, I don't believe that's the case. You know, possibly he just was stopped to have a fag or he was drunk himself and just, I don't know. People do strange things. He was propping himself up against that column and just leaning on the wall. That's what I can see because, you know, he does move out from it and go in the side of the camera. It doesn't to me look like he's trying to hide himself. Somebody trying to conceal themselves would stick to that wall like glue and like cover their face and things, not necessarily just stand out in the open at some points right in front of the camera's view. Plus, it was pitch black. How would he even know that there was a camera there unless he had previously sort of been around the area and seen it? I mean, he could have, but yeah, that's just my opinion on it. But I have obviously wondered if this man was involved because when I watched the footage myself and then saw that other person walking 30 seconds behind Trevor with the umbrella at the ATM, that really freaked me out and it made me believe that if they were the same person, that they followed him, and it could be the case. Obviously, as I said, the more I looked into it, the more I believe at least that they are too different in stature to be the same person, but I could be completely wrong. Sometimes your coat can be really puffed up, making you look bulkier than you actually are, and then when you stood up straight and walking, you maybe look slimmer. You know, it's just the footage isn't great and it's very grainy and you just can't see anything off it. Another interesting thing within this case, the weekend that Trevor actually went missing, the area had been vigorously searched and cleared out because there was going to be a presidential visit. I believe it was Clinton, and he had obviously a security team. They swept the area, and it is truly believed that if, say, an umbrella or maybe a broken phone or something like that, which in a storm is not abnormal, it's not abnormal to find things like that, people lose things like that all of the time, that maybe they just cleared it away thinking nothing of it. But that could have been Trevor's umbrella or Trevor's phone. It could have been some vital piece of evidence. And the area was just scrubbed, so they just didn't find anything there either. If there was any potential evidence there at all, it could have been lost due to all that. Barring a body, because obviously if they found a body, that wouldn't have just been ushered away. Small things like a phone, an umbrella, maybe wouldn't have been thought of as anything suspicious. Apparently, a few years later, after Trevor was missing and nobody heard anything, an informant actually came forward and said that a criminal had confessed to them that they took Trevor into a house and threatened him at gunpoint with a gun. Obviously with a gun, it's a gunpoint. But then they said that the gun accidentally went off and they killed Trevor. They did not mean to. And that they then buried the body in this area. The police scoured that area. They looked everywhere. They didn't find a damn thing, and it's believed that this person wasn't too reliable. So yeah, they didn't find anything, and then they just figured that it wasn't really a credible story. So there are obviously a couple of theories in his case. Was it somebody, did he actually just fall into a river and they have yet to find his body? Apparently they couldn't fully drain the canal or the river, whichever one it was, because of these houses around it, and it would have made them unstable. I have no idea why. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but apparently that's the case. So they couldn't fully drain it. Was his body in that area that they couldn't drain? They did thoroughly search it though, so you would think that they would have found it, but they didn't find anything. So did he accidentally drown? Did an opportunist grab him at some point and murder him? Did somebody accidentally knock him over and then, you know, terrified, you know, went and hid his body, buried it somewhere? There's just so many theories. He could have been robbed. There's the theory that he took his own life, which not a lot of people believe, because he had a good life. He was in good spirits, and he had finally found what he wanted to do, you know, with his life. And so people don't think that one, believe that one really. But there's just so many thoughts and theories on it. And who knows whether also this person in the CCTV was the one that took him. I just don't know. Just last year, it marked 20 years since Trevor Deely had gone missing, and his family members and the police launched a new sort of public appeal. They all stood around the area where he was last seen. They had posters, and they just gathered around that area in the hopes that somebody would come forward. As I have said, they said it themselves that this case totally relies on the public, and they said that all they're interested in now is where he is. They just want to find out where Trevor is. So, i.e., if he is no longer alive, they would like his remains so that they could finally lay them to rest, essentially. And that is what his sister Michelle stated during this public appeal. So yeah, he's been missing almost 21 years now. This was last year that they did this, in 2020, and no new information from that has come to light as of yet. I honestly truly hope that it does. His family are desperate. He was the baby of the family. They said so themselves. You know, he was the youngest, and for 21 years they have no idea what happened to him, and it's just awful. So please, if you have any idea who this person was in the CCTV, whether it is vital information in the case or not, at least that section of it could be cleared up. This person might be completely innocent, but nobody will ever know if nobody comes forward with information on who that person is. You know, they might have had nothing to do with the case, and if that is the case, then they should come forward and reveal themselves so that that aspect of it can finally be cleared. But yeah, if anybody literally has any information that they could think could be useful whatsoever, please do call the authorities, because we do need to know what happened to Trevor, and his family just want to know where he is. So please, if you do, give his family that peace of mind. But yeah, that's the end of the case. If you guys have enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for similar content. Anyway guys, that's all I have today on the case of Trevor Deely. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.